sea level rise is one of the most certain effects of climate change. That is, there's very little scientific uncertainty about that. It's going to happen.
I'm drawing the line based on the 10 feet above sea level line, which is a very commonly used climate change and scientific scenario line. And in order to find out where is that line on the streets and sidewalks of New York City, I used a U.S. Geologic Survey topographic map and looked at where that line was and then translated it myself onto Google Maps so that I could see satellite imagery and understand, which house. This is underwater and this is dry, but we're going to come around and go back up so there'd be like a rivulet of water. This would be underwater, this would be dry. So there'd be a little dry strip down the center of the road, and all of this would be underwater.
The striking statistic about the line that she's drawing is that flooding was once projected to occur there every 100 years, but now by 2020, flooding will occur there every 43 years. So already that's double. Then by 2050, every 19 years, and then by 2080, every 4 years. One of the things that's so great about Eve's project is that it's direct. It has a very immediate impact on people. That is, she is drawing a line that you can see. And therefore it helps people visualize climate change. It helps localize it. That is, it makes it felt as a real impact to people's lives as opposed to some remote phenomenon. The other thing about Eve's project is she's directly engaging people in the community. So she's out performing the line, and people come up to her and ask her what's going on, so she gets a chance to interface one-on-one with people. And it reaches diverse constituencies inherently because it goes to different neighborhoods, including neighborhoods that are traditionally underserved for the arts. And those are all objectives of the Canary Project: to reach diverse audiences, to visualize climate change, to have it be both immediately appreciable, but then also reward deeper contemplation, which I think her project does all of that.
Right now we're in Brooklyn Bridge Park, so we're across from Manhattan, right on the water. We're below Manhattan Bridge, and then over on this side is Brooklyn Bridge. We're just inside the line, which I've set up the beacons in the park denoting the 10 foot above sea level line. The beacons are sort of interesting in that they create sort of an intimate moment. They're topped with the little orbs that are really reflective of the surrounding area, and people have been really interested in getting close to that and interacting with that. And then at night, when they're illuminated, they sort of give off an effervescent blue glow, which people are really attracted to.
She's like a one-person educational campaign in a lot of ways. And also the fact that she links it as art, I think makes it non-threatening for people to contemplate. And I think that's a really important part of it. I love the performance art component where the artist comes to the individual as opposed to the individual goes to the artist. It removes the selection bias of getting people who are interested in the subject go to it. She becomes available to everyone.
Why New York?
Because I live here. I mean, it sort of was like, why would it not be New York? When I was looking at moving my art into the public realm, I was looking at reports about what was going to happen to New York specifically. I guess I'm an urban archaeologist. I love New York. I love everything about the city. I love exploring the city, and I wouldn't want to lose 1 inch of it to climate change. And it's my home. I'd like to protect it. I'd like to think that I'm talking to other people who live here and that, we kind of all share something in common, being New Yorkers. New York City is particularly susceptible to some more immediate effects of climate change. One of the obvious things that we really don't think about that often is the fact that we're composed of 3 islands and a peninsula. So we're surrounded by water. We're really going to feel any kind of effects that climate change has on sea level rise or storms that come off of the water.
There are quite a few neighborhoods, both in Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan, that will be affected by more frequent flooding. People are surprised sometimes to find out how much of New York City is actually coastal. It's actually abuts a coastline. And we're drawing this line on 70 miles of coastline, both in Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan. One of the unique aspects of some of the stuff we're doing is it leverages art as evidence, which is an unusual position for art to be in. And Eve's project is one of those where it both helps people visualize climate change, that is, it shows you exactly where a flood line will be. And it also sort of shows it as evidence, that is, it distributes evidence about climate change, both scientific research and current understandings about how climate change will affect these neighborhoods.
Yeah, but that's the worst case scenario. So if you talk to your neighbors and your friends, and we all do things that I talk about in the project, things that reduce our carbon emissions, then that's not going to happen.
Their level of concern is one of engagement, not of fear. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, well, because that's, I think, a big
that.
part of the project is that not about scaring people, but informing them about this information and giving them the tools to do something about it. Although we've known about it for many years, we've seen scientists talking about it since the 60s and the 70s. It's just now becoming common information, and I think where we can look at fault and blame now is not reacting to what we now know.